welcome to another episode of Elevated. I'm your host, the Elevated Engineer. So it's the first Elevated episode of the year, so of course we gotta go ahead and jump right into it. First topic we're gonna be talking about, of course, is the game development first steps. So I just finished development of what will be the basics of my RTS, and I basically built the basics of the MVC. Since it'll be a multiplayer game, it'll rely heavily on a client-server model framework. And give me a second, I got the, let's not rush through it. So basically, what we're going to be doing is building a multiplayer game. It will eventually be on Steam. And yeah, so instead of me just talking about it, I figured I'd rather just show you. So just give me one moment while I pull it up. Shrink me down just a little bit. I think everyone should probably be able to see that. Okay, so I figure I put up Unity, the project I'm doing, and what I will do is okay. All right, as you see, we kind of got our scene going over there. We got a bunch of little instances of different random spawn points. We'll get to that a little more in a minute. But first, I just want to test that the multiplayer functions are going to be working. Obviously, this is going to be a little more technical episode. This is not a get on code episode, but I want to just show you all just a little bit of kind of where I'm going, and it's all about transparency with me. So first, I think, let me just make sure I run and build this so we can make sure that we have a version. We're gonna have a server and a client, and for this you'll see that once it builds, I edit this out a little later. But you're going to see that it's going to have two players. They're going to spawn in different points on our map, which is this right here. And up and build. It's going to take a little second to build. So while that builds, okay, we got our build there. Let's go ahead and take that. Okay, so now we got our first build. I don't think everyone can see it, but let's go ahead and kind of create a new window for that. All right. Go ahead and rename this one Client. You'll be able to see it in a moment. I think this one is it. Yeah, okay, so that's that one. Alright, so we got that one a little smaller. And we have this one. Oh, Streamlabs. You are so so much. This one will be the actual app running independently. There it is. Okay, as you can see, we got them kind of both hanging there right now, right? Woo, okay, finally. All right, so ideally we're going to create a game. And okay, so we're gonna run our original, right? And we're using a bunch of tools. It's it's a library called Mirror that it allows for the multiplayer. I've been configuring it heavily for the last like 2 weeks or so. But Mirror, I'm using Mirror. Using text mesh, nav mesh. All right. So once you run it, you see that we have two different instances. We have our instance of our server and our host, which we're using the client server model. I know I mentioned that earlier, but just to reiterate, so we're using our server, which will act as our server and a client, and then we created our instance, this window that says multiplayer basics right here. This is our program that we play. So this is our client. This little one that says multiplayer basics is our client. This is our server. So ideally, we're gonna be using the HUD, and our server is going to be hosted, right? So it's as simple as that. So now that we have our server, you can see a player 1 just appeared on our server. You can tell that it appeared on our server, but it hasn't appeared on our client yet because our client hasn't joined the server. I know, again, this is very technical, but this is helpful to, I would imagine, a lot of people. So now our client needs to join. So we just simply click our client, and as you can see, we get two different clients. We get, or two different players, I should say. We get player 1, which I believe is also the host player. Yes, it's the client, it's the server, yes, and it has the authority. Then we have player 2, which, as we can see, is a client. It's also a server, but has no authority. So it could basically, the client joins the server, but it's only allowed a certain amount of position or of authority to do anything, i.e. kick people off the server or whatever. So ideally, we're going to have, if it works right, hopefully it works right, I'm going to be clicking, right? And I already set it to be a certain click. You're going to see it move in one window, and it's going to update and sync it in the other video. So it's going to look, like it's actually kind of moving. So first, let's go ahead and click inside our server, and we're going to try to move our player 1. So we should be able to point to any place on our map that we created, and our little player will move to those points. This is, again, just the very beginning. So here we go, player 1. And as we can see, he also moves down in the client. Now, we should be able to click anywhere, and not only will he move, but he'll also has collision detection and won't, you see this wall right here? He won't go through it because I have it set so it detects that wall is there and it won't go through it, right? So move him again. All right, but you want to make sure that the client is moving someplace too. So we should be able to go to our client and do the exact same thing with player 2. So let's do it. And player 2 moves. So our client is moved any place we click, and it updates in our actual server. So what our server is doing is it's actually logging each object, and is actually syncing them on both the server and the host. So that's basically the basics of multiplayer, really. I mean, it's a lot more to it, but this is the basics of my first game that I'm going to be making. Shooting for release date end of summer 2021. That's the goal. As you can see, we just got it started. It's still in the baking stages. we still have very little left that we have to do. So yeah, I mean very little left that we put very little that we put in, but it's a lot. So yeah, that's the basics of our first game, man. As you can see, we're moving. Again, it is going to be a multiplayer game. It is going to be a real-time strategy game. So that's where we're kind of going. This is my first game. I'm excited about it. I believe that the promise is unlimited and sky's the limit. So let's go ahead and stop running that, okay? So my computer won't explode. As you can see, automatically, because the client stopped, all the players left on there also got kicked off. So, just really quick, I just want to show what happens when you leave the player, because I can also host it on the client as well. So, just as soon as we don't explode, really quick, start it again, because, you know, Unity be playing games. Unity be playing games. Oh my god. Streamlabs and Unity. Taking down my computer. But, okay, so we should be able to host from our player 2. Let's allow that. And we should be able to join here on our client. And again, instead of us moving player 1 on this host right here, we're moving player 2, because now our Unity instance is the client and our application is now the host. So that moves our client, which is actually our host now, moves to player 1 and vice versa. So yeah, it's working like it should. And when the client closes, we do that again. We can add, we can stop this client, but our other instance will still be running, as we can see right here. Okay, and that works. Okay, so that is our first game basis that we are going to be doing, and it works successfully. So now, since we are talking majorly about development, we're going to move into data science, which is the second huge aspect of my company. So this year we're going to be focusing heavily on more data science projects, definitely more seriously. My goal is to work on smaller projects, and I'll focus on computer vision, image analysis, and web scraping. But a really big thing I want to focus on is, let me just close this, our DNNs, which is deep neural network, and CNN, which is convolutional neural network. For now, I'll be relying on Python because that's where I'm most experienced. I'll be using Kaggle for the data sets and tutorials. And then finally, I'll be using GCP because they have a huge amount of pre-trained models. And they have what's called Google Cloud Vision, which is basically computer vision, Google's own API for computer vision. So let's post that. Let's post that. And let's go ahead and bring my mug on here. Okay, so yes, I'm going to be focusing heavily on these smaller data science projects. I think I have a good deal of experience in data science already just from school. Ironically, I'm going to be in a big data course come spring 2021. So I'll likely be doing a big data science project for my class. And for the projects that I'll be doing on likely Upwork or TopTal, I'm going to be doing a bunch of smaller, in theory, data science projects, data analysis, big on the computer vision, because ironically enough, I've actually been doing computer vision projects without even noticing it, well, knowing it, because For my last class, for example, I did an image analysis of a bunch of it was like 60,000 different comic book images or something like that, and I sent them through a bunch of models and everything, and doing the statistical analysis. I did a lot in those, putting them through, creating my own neural networks, putting them through the models, and training all those data and all that data. And realistically, like, it's unlikely that the professional projects that I'll be doing will be as deep and thorough and as complex as the models I do for school and projects. But those are the best ways to start, because the stuff you're going to be doing in school, if people ever do study this data science thing, which I imagine a lot of people will, the studies are, what you do in school is going to prepare you ideally in the right school. If your school is, not giving you that something where the project is thorough enough so that once you get to the real world projects are not going to be at the same level that your school projects are. They're just not. So that's really what we're going to be focusing on in 2021. A lot of cloud development too. That's why I mentioned GCP, because, well, as a profession, just going to a little rant here. As a profession, data science is getting bigger and bigger. I think it's going to be probably one of the best fields to really get into in the coming decade. It's only going to get bigger. I really believe that, especially black folk, because my focus is black folk, but at the end of the day, I'm here to teach really anybody who wants to learn. Just black folks are my main focus. But at the end of the day, data science is, you could just look at the numbers, look at the salaries, look at all the big companies, everybody, not even just big companies, the government, private, public, all these sectors are going to be relying heavily upon data scientists and analysis to conduct business. People want to know how effective their products are, how much people like them, like what is the adoption rate, like all the statistics that come with data science. And that's going to be heavy. So that's something that I'm going to go in. I would advise people, again, I'm just a guy on the internet. You don't have to take my word for it. Do the research for yourself. At the end of the day, I do it because I love it. Data science is like me. Like, the coding isn't, there's coding, but it's not like, oh my god, code. It's not like Unity coding, developing games, or like heavy stuff like that. It's stuff that once you start doing it, you can pretty much learn it pretty easily as compared to other forms of development. And yeah, information is more valuable than gold right now. So I highly advise people. I'm going to be also doing more data science tutorials this year. I'm going to be finishing up. I'm going to do probably one more Get on Code Unity Basics episode coming up. And then I'm going to start doing more data science stuff. The reason is because but the Unity stuff is a lot more complex. It's really gotta have a passion for games, indie game development to even get into it. And I think it looks a lot cooler. Data science is cool to me, but a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, what does this mean, until they get into it. But as I showed you earlier, you can actually visualize the games when I make them. That's why they're a lot harder to make. So yeah, that's what my company is definitely gonna be focusing on, Ultra Reality Technologies. As you know, that is my company. If you go to my website, you can actually see my new logo that I put up. Salute to the team that did that. I'll be using more of them in the future, ideally. Data science, man. That's pretty much it. That's where we're heading. So, next topic: the realities of engineering. Big thing about engineers, you can always seek new challenges. as you can tell, I'm doing. I'm learning something new, literally every day. Even though right now I'm on break right now. Jeez Christ, I got this thing right here. I'm sure you can hear me a lot better now. But even though I'm on break right now, I'm still heavily learning new stuff. I'm still like engineering projects. I'm still working on projects that I was working on this semester. I'm still, these are projects that are going to help me in the long run, not only personally but for my business and enrichment. You kind of have to eat, sleep, and shit this kind of stuff, man, because it's not something that I can only speak for myself. Some stuff of developing comes easy to me, but that's only because of experience. But a lot of the time, the shit does not come easily. You got to really work. You got to study. You got to watch videos, read books, get experience, work on projects. The good thing about me right now is I'm actually heavily invested. That's all I do is develop. This is basically all I do. I develop, engineer shit, go to school, which actually ties into that. My business ties into that, and I do martial arts, BJJ, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai for right now. And I mean that's really all I do. Boom, like so that's why I say you watching videos online, watching free videos on YouTube, watching other people who've come before you who've had success. That's a huge one. I've recently been watching more indie developers YouTube channels because I feel like that's where it's at. You can kind of find where the trends are. Just because you develop a good game doesn't mean anybody's gonna buy that shit. So you gotta make sure it's gonna be something that you believe that people are gonna buy. You gotta do your research. This is for gaming. You gotta do your research. What is the most popular kinds of gaming models right now? How are you going to make your money? Are you going to charge people to play a game? Or are you going to just place ads in there? Click ads or ads that come in every time frame or something like that. There's a good deal to it. But once you kind of get in my opinion, granted, I have not made my indie game, but I worked on other people's games. So again, I'm just one guy who's kind of just beginning his indie development business and the studio. And data science is also what I'm developing. It's not the studio portion, but it's definitely, But also I want to talk about never taking no for an answer. I believe that I've been told no a lot. In engineering, I get told a lot. But the funny thing about it is, the more experience I get, the less I get told no. So, whatever. So, I never really take no for an answer. The truth is, if it works out, that's great. But if not taking a no for an answer, I may burn bridges. Hey, it is what it is. Maybe that motherfucker wasn't meant for you to go back to that place anyway, so fuck that bridge. It is what it is. That's not my intent, but if it happens, so be it. So that's why I say never take no for an answer, man. And once you keep that attitude in engineering, like, yeah, I will finish this. I will complete this. It's just all just comes back to you. So another thing, and the final thing I want to talk about engineering is about pacing yourself. Pacing yourself. The reason I want to stress on this is because you can get burnt out doing this shit. If you're sitting up there doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours of work a day, you're not getting paid for it. That's tough. What I like about doing projects, being an entrepreneur, is I can take whatever schedule I really want and I can just work off it. And the good thing about it is I can say, all right, let's take with Upwork, for example. Upwork has 2 ways of doing it. You can either do an hourly, or you can do what they do is they put your money in an escrow until you complete the job, and the client approves of it, then you get paid, and it's held by Upwork once you get paid. So you could really, if you're doing it that way, you could do, however long it takes. It might take you 2, 3, 4 hours to do a specific job, but you could pace yourself. You could do that. Maybe you do 2 hours in the morning, and then later in the evening you do 2 hours and you complete it and you ship it out. Your client loves you. You want your client to love you, yes? So that's why I tell people to pace themselves, man, because engineering is a discipline that is not easy. Especially when money's on the line, especially when people are paying you and they have a certain level of expectations. I've gotten to the point now where I'm starting to get a pretty good reputation, but I'm definitely not where I'm gonna be. I want to be at the point where it's like, oh, people are hitting me up, where I'm like shooing them away. You know what I mean? So that's just gonna be my focus. It's killing it. Pace myself, not taking no for an answer, man, and being realistic. Seeking challenges over when you knock those challenges out, better than sex. So thanks again, family. That is another episode of Elevated. If you like the content I'm bringing, do me a favor, share, leave a comment, man, and subscribe. I appreciate all the support I get. Trust and believe. When I get new subscribers, when I get comments, even if the comments are like, whatever, motherfucker, I appreciate it. So again, thanks for watching another episode of Elevated. I'm your host, engineer that is elevated. That's it.